My daughter-in-law, Vanessa, thought I was just a retired librarian, with too much time and no spine. She dumped my 3 grandchildren on my porch like garbage, so she could go find herself in Miami with a man who wasn't my son. She expected to come back to a submissive babysitter. Instead, she returned to a woman who had spent 40 years cataloging evidence for the district attorney's office. She wanted a war? She got an eviction. They say silence is golden, but I learned silence is heavy, like soaked wool pressing on breath. It can warm if respected, or suffocate if ignored. That Tuesday morning on my Savannah porch, the silence was storm-heavy, thick and waiting. I rocked in my wicker chair with cold chamomile tea, watching heat rise from the asphalt. I was not waiting for anyone because retirement means sitting and watching and pretending the waiting is purpose. Vanessa thought I spent my days rotting, but she never knew my silence was observation, sharpened by 40 years in the district attorney's office, listening to what people hid, reading tremors in hands and hesitations before lies. The silence shattered at exactly 10 because Vanessa was never late when discarding something. The black SUV screeched around the corner, huge and shiny, nothing like Robert's tired sedan. It jumped the curb and crushed my new petunias, but I stayed seated and sipped cold tea. Vanessa spilled out like a designer hurricane, shouting into her phone, ignoring me completely. Behind her, the children climbed out slowly. Jake glared at the world, dragging an overstuffed suitcase. Mia clutched her backpack like armor. Sammy held a dinosaur so tight his knuckles whitened. Robert stepped out last, older and grayer, avoiding my eyes until one pleading glance whispered, "Help me, Mama." Vanessa snapped her phone shut and marched to me, perfume sharp as chemicals. "Evelyn," she said, "we need to leave the kids here." "For how long?" I asked, keeping my voice calm because quiet disarms people. 2 weeks, maybe 3, she said, waving her hand like time was loose change. She claimed a business opportunity in Miami, but I knew there was no conference. Robert studied his shoes, trapped in silence. I said I had a life, appointments, the garden club, but she laughed dry and barking. "Oh please, you rot on this porch, you should be grateful." Her words hit like old cases of cruelty, but I boxed my anger tight. The children stood lost among crushed flowers. Jake kicked the SUV tire. Mia watched with ancient eyes. Sammy cried silently, tears sliding without sound, trained to stay quiet. "Fine," I said, "leave them." Vanessa clapped like dismissal, listing rules about sugar and grounding and independence, then told me to clean the house because it smelled old. She walked away without touching her children. Robert lingered, whispering, "I'm sorry," voice cracked like a dry leaf. I told him to go because drowning men pull rescuers under if grabbed too soon. The SUV roared away, leaving exhaust and 3 children standing in broken blossoms. They expected anger, feared punishment, but I stood slowly, knees popping like tiny gunshots. I walked toward them, knelt until eye level with Sammy. He flinched when I reached, breaking my heart into shards. I gently took the dinosaur and asked, "Is this a T-Rex?" He nodded, wide-eyed. "A T-Rex needs meat," I said, "and you 3 look hungry. Who wants bacon?" The tension shifted from fear to confusion. Jake whispered that processed meat was poison. "Your mother is in Miami," I said. "In this house, bacon is a vegetable. Grab the bags. We are not leaving them like trash." I led them up the steps. I paused at the door, remembering her words. "You are useless." I smiled the way a wolf smiles when the trap closes. She forgot one truth about useless old women. We have time, so much time, and I would use every second. Inside, the house was cool, smelling of lemon polish and old books. Jake passed me, patting something in his hoodie pocket. A phone, rectangular and hidden. Vanessa claimed he needed it for emergencies, but it felt like something else. I filed the detail away. I closed the door and the silence returned, no longer heavy with waiting. Now it was the silence of planning. I walked into the kitchen and opened the windows, letting stale air escape. The house felt like it had held its breath for years, living like a ghost behind quiet walls. Noise trickled in as zippers scraped and sneakers squeaked across the floor, pushing silence aside. I pulled thick-cut bacon from the refrigerator, the kind Vanessa feared like sin, because she treated gluten as evil and fat as unforgivable. I laid the strips into my cast-iron skillet, heavy and seasoned by decades. As the heat rose, the smell of curing salt and hickory filled the rooms, drifting through hallways with memories. It smelled like safety, like home. I watched the children from the corner of my eye as they clustered in the doorway, unsure how to exist without rules. They looked like refugees waiting for permission to breathe. "Sit down," I said, pointing to the oak table. Jake dropped into a chair with a sigh only a 12-year-old could craft. His hood fell back, revealing sharp cheekbones and dark circles that belonged on exhausted men, not boys. Mia sat beside him, hands careful on her lap, eyes darting like a child trained to vanish to survive. Sammy climbed into his seat and put his thumb in his mouth, clinging to comfort. "Is it true?" Jake asked, voice aggressive but trembling beneath the surface. "Is what true?" I asked, flipping bacon as grease popped cheerfully. "That you are poor, that you want our money," he said. The words hung jagged in the air. "Who told you that?" I asked. "Mom," he answered, "saying you are jealous, saying you guilt-trip Dad, saying you might steal from us." I looked at him, wearing a $100 hoodie, while I cooked in a Ross dress. I thought of my paid house, my car, my quiet life, and the shredded credit offers in Robert's name. "Your mother has imagination," I said calmly. "I am comfortable, not poor. And I want nothing from you. Now, do you want eggs with your bacon?" "Scrambled?" he asked. "Scrambled with cheese," I replied. I served the food and watched them devour it. This was hunger shaped by fear, not appetite. Sammy shoved bacon into his mouth as if someone might steal it. Mia ate quietly, polishing her plate. Jake pretended to be casual but returned for thirds. I poured real orange juice with pulp, not the weak sugar water Vanessa allowed. As they ate, I observed like the investigator I once was. Mia's shoes were 2 sizes too small. Sammy's rash climbed his neck. And Jake touched his pocket every 30 seconds, guarding something. When he thought I wasn't watching, he checked the phone with grave worry. He wasn't gaming. He was waiting. Or avoiding something dangerous. After breakfast, I sent them outside. They complained, but they went. When the door slammed shut, I moved fast, ignoring the dishes. I needed information. I opened Jake's suitcase first. Chaos spilled out, clothes mixed with dirty socks. At the bottom, wrapped in a towel, I found a tablet. Locked. His birthday failed. 1234 failed. I returned everything exactly as found. Mia's bag was neat, heartbreakingly neat for a 9-year-old. Inside I found a diary. I hesitated, then opened it. The first page showed their house crying blue tears, with Mom's face scribbled black and Dad drawn tiny and fading. I closed the book with shaking hands. This was not a bad marriage. This was a battlefield. I looked out the window. The children sat beneath the oak tree. Jake typed furiously, eyes darting, moving like a dealer or spy, not a grandson. He looked up suddenly, staring straight toward the house, sensing my watchful eyes. He pocketed the phone and stood, jittery and alert. I turned away and scraped hardened grease from the skillet, each scrape loud and final. Vanessa thought she left them at storage. She thought I was old, tired, foolish. She was wrong. I washed the skillet, dried it, and opened the drawer of old tools. My fingers found a digital recorder, cold and familiar. Fresh batteries clicked inside. "Test, test, 1, 2, 3, I whispered. "Clear, sharp, ready." Tonight we would have dinner. Tonight I would ask questions. And tonight I would get that phone. Not with force but with strategy. Because I was not just a grandmother now. I was the lead investigator. And the trial had begun. The sun went down but the heat didn't leave. It just settled into the dirt, waiting for tomorrow. I spent the afternoon in the kitchen chopping vegetables with a rhythm that calmed my nerves. Chop, scrape, chop, scrape. It was a violent sound if you listened closely, but the result was nourishment. I was making my mother's meatloaf. It wasn't fancy. It didn't have truffles or foam or whatever Vanessa paid $50 for at those restaurants she tagged on Instagram. It was ground beef, onions, breadcrumbs, and a glaze of ketchup and brown sugar that bubbled like lava when it hit the oven. It was the kind of food that stuck to your ribs and told your brain you were safe. I called them for dinner at 6 o'clock sharp. In my house, dinner is not a negotiation. It is a scheduled event. They came dragging their feet, the adrenaline of the bacon long gone, replaced by the reality that they were stuck in Savannah with the useless old woman for 2 weeks. Jake walked in with his hood up, thumb tapping furiously on the screen of the phone he thought I didn't know about. He assumed reading glasses meant blindness. He didn't know I could spot a typo in a legal brief from 3 feet away. "Sit," I said. "Hood's down at the table." Jake paused, staring at me with pure teenage disdain. "Mom lets me wear my hood. It helps with my anxiety." "I am not your mother," I said, placing a pitcher of iced tea on the table. "And in this house, we look at our food when we eat it. Hood down." He calculated, eyes flicking from the steaming meatloaf to my face. Hunger won. He pulled the hood down and Saturday, Mia and Sammy followed. I served them, generous slices, mashed potatoes forming a small dam for gravy, green beans cooked in bacon grease. "It looks brown," Mia whispered. "It's meat, honey," I said. "Meat is brown. Eat." Sammy took one bite and his eyes rolled back. "It tastes like candy meat," he mumbled. "Don't talk with your mouth full," Jake snapped, still not eating. One hand was under the table. "Jake," I said softly, the kind of soft that makes grown men nervous. "Hand on the table." He froze. "My leg itches." "Scratch it, and then hand on the table. No phones at dinner." "I don't have a phone," he shouted. Too loud. Too defensive. I didn't call him a liar. That's what amateurs do. You corner a suspect too early, they shut down. "Eat your dinner," I said. "It's getting cold." He ate, angrily stabbing at the potatoes. Hunger softened the edges of the room. Warm food does that. "Grandma," Mia whispered. "Why don't you have a TV in the kitchen?" "Because the kitchen is for talking," I said. "And for listening." "We don't talk at dinner at home," she said. "Mom films her food. Dad answers emails. We just watch iPads." My heart broke a little. "Well," I said, "here we are retro. We talk. Tell me, Mia, what's your favorite subject?" "Science," she said. "I like microscopes. You can see the germs that are invisible." "A scientist," I smiled. "I have an old microscope upstairs. Tomorrow we can look at onion skins." Her face lit up, bright as a bulb turning on. Jake snorted. "Forensic what?" "You were a secretary." "I was a researcher for the district attorney," I corrected. "I helped put bad people in jail. People who thought they could hide things." Jake stiffened. After dinner came the bedtime protocol. Vanessa claimed Sammy needed independence, which meant she never tucked him in. I marched them all upstairs. Sammy whined for his white noise app. "I have something better," I said, cracking the window. Crickets, frogs, distant traffic. "Nature's white noise." "It's scary," he whispered. It's just the world saying good night, I said. Door open, hall light on? Deal. Jake lay fully dressed on his bed, hood up again. Where's the charger? He asked. For the phone you don't have? I said. He flushed. For my toothbrush. There's an outlet in the bathroom. Good night. I tucked me in next, then went to my room. I closed my door loudly, walked around for 5 minutes, then went still, and waited. 20 minutes. Then 30. The house cooled, boards shifting in the night. Then the pale blue glow. A screen flickering like a ghost. I crept toward the boys' room, silent in my socks, avoiding the one floorboard that groaned like a dying man. She's asleep, Jake whispered. Yeah, the old hag's out. She thinks cloud means the weather. He paused, listening. I know, Mom, he whispered. My blood ran cold. Yeah, I took the pictures. The house is a dump. Cracks in the ceiling. And I think I saw a rat. A lie. A deliberate one. Okay. I'll ask her about the will tomorrow. I promise. Love you too. Is Uncle Dom there? Okay. Bye. The blue glow vanished. Something slid under the mattress. I moved back to my room, heart pounding. Vanessa wanted ammunition. Proof I was incompetent. Unsafe. Maybe unstable. Ask her about the will. Predatory. Calculated. I needed that phone, but not by taking it. If I grabbed it, Vanessa would twist it. No, I needed to borrow it, clone it, quietly. Tomorrow, Mia and I were doing science. And while she learned about invisible germs, I would learn what Vanessa was really planning. But first, I needed Jake out of that room. The next morning, I woke with a plan as volatile as the chemicals I once analyzed in the lab. Push too hard and you get an explosion. Push too soft and you get no reaction. I needed a reaction, but it had to look like an accident. I walked into the kitchen at 7 o'clock. The house was quiet, heavy with the breathing stillness of sleeping children. I made strong black coffee, then went to the pantry. White vinegar, baking soda, food coloring, hydrogen peroxide lined up like soldiers on the counter. In the garage, I found the oversized t-shirts of Robert, stained from summer painting jobs. Dust and turpentine, the smell of honest work. I woke them at 8. Up! I shouted, banging a wooden spoon against a pot. Science waits for no one. Jake groaned, stumbling out with his hood up, hand in pocket. It's too early. Mom lets us sleep till 10. Your mother isn't here, I said cheerfully. And the sun is burning daylight. Today, we are making elephant toothpaste. Mia rubbed her eyes. Real elephants? No, my dear. It's messy. Extremely messy. Which is why. I held up the t-shirts. Uniforms are mandatory. You cannot wear your nice clothes. Jake hesitated, hand tightening on his pocket. The phone, he knew if he changed, he would have to leave it behind. I'm not wearing that. It's ugly. It's protective gear, I countered. Unless you want blue foam all over those designer jeans your mother loves. Fine. He spat, grabbed a shirt, stomped back inside. I waited in the kitchen, heart thumping slow and heavy. 1 minute, 2. The door opened. Jake came out in the oversized yellow-stained t-shirt, knees covered, ridiculous and young, stripped of armor. Jeans and phone left behind. Boots on, I ordered, pointing to the gardening galoshes. Go to the oak tree. I'll bring the ingredients. They shuffled out, Mia giggling at Sammy's dragging shirt. Screen door clicked shut. I moved. Quietly, with purpose, to the guest room. The air thick with unwashed boy and secret snacks. Clothes piled on the floor. Jake's jeans. His phone warm in the pocket. I pressed the side button, screen lit. A photo of Jake and Vanessa. He looked miserable. She kissed his cheek. Passcode. I cursed. The screen smudged. Oil from his fingers formed a map. Heavy smudges center right. 6, 9, 3. No. I closed my eyes. 12-year-old. Spy for his mother. What code would he use? Vanessa was predictable. I remembered the year of her marriage. 2010. 2-0-1-0. Padlock clicked open. I tapped the green message icon, thread with mom at the top. Jake. She's making us eat meatloaf. It's gross. Mom, just endure it, baby. Did you take pics of the cracks? Jake. Image sent. Mold in the bathroom. Mom, good boy, soldier. Ask her about the money today. Dom says we need the bank. I switched to photos, hundreds of images, water stains, chip tiles, weeds. Then Vanessa on a yacht, champagne, Dominic with his hand on her waist, kissing. I pulled my phone, didn't send anything, digital trail too risky. Aligned my camera with Jake's screen. Snapped pictures. Messages. Mold. Yacht. Kiss. Hands steady now, rage turned cold focus, documenting the crime scene. Grandma. We're waiting. Sammy's voice drifted. I froze, closed apps, wiped the screen with my apron to mix fingerprints. Phone returned to jeans pocket, screen inward. I grabbed the hydrogen peroxide, tray in hand, heart still racing but hands steady. Patience is a virtue, Samuel called, voice cheerful. Jake leaned against the oak tree, bored, pockets untouched. He thought he was the spy, unaware he was compromised. Okay, I said, commanding. Mia, lead scientist, pour the peroxide. Sammy, add blue food coloring, like the ocean your mother is enjoying. Jake rolled his eyes. Whatever. Jake, I said, handing him yeast cup. You are the catalyst. Do you know what a catalyst is? He eyed it like toxic waste. No, a catalyst causes change, speeds things up, makes the explosion happen, but itself does not change. It just starts the fire. He poured. Whoosh. Blue foam geysered from the bottle, steam rising, unstoppable. Sammy shrieked. Mia clapped, even Jake stepped back, surprised. That, I said, watching, is an exothermic reaction. Calm water can explode with the right ingredient. I looked at Jake, a boy used as a weapon by a woman obsessed with a yacht, but now just a boy. I had the evidence, I knew the plan. Clean up, hose it down, then inside, microscope and onion skins. Can I get my phone first? Jake asked. After science, no phones, I said firmly. He groaned, accepted the rhythm, deprogramming begun, extraction complete. The truce lasted exactly 36 hours. Peace built on distraction eventually ends, and by the afternoon of the third day, the elephant toothpaste was a stain on the grass, the microscope slides had been examined, and the boredom of a savannah summer settled in. Boredom is dangerous for a 12-year-old boy. It gives him time to think, and for Jake, thinking meant remembering he was a spy. I was in the study organizing old case files, pretending to tidy up, but really looking for a precedent, a case where a mother drained a family's assets before fleeing. From the living room, cartoons droned for Sammy. Then a crash, sharp, shattering ceramic against hardwood. I didn't run. I placed my file on the desk, took off my reading glasses, and walked into the living room. The scene was staged, obvious to any seasoned eye. My favorite vase, blue porcelain from Charleston, lay in shards. Sammy sat on the rug, confused. Mia frozen on the sofa. Jake stood near the fireplace, phone in hand, camera aimed at me. Oh my God. Grandma, why did you throw that? You're scaring us. Stop hitting things, he yelled, voice pitched. He was filming, framing me, executing a mission, not acting like a grandson. My blood ran cold, then hot, then calm. I didn't shout. I didn't defend myself. I walked toward him. Cut, I said. Jake faltered. What? Cut. That was terrible, Jake. You looked at the camera before screaming. Amateur mistake. He lowered the phone slightly, confusion breaking his act. I'm recording this. Everyone will see you're crazy. Mom says, give me the phone, I said, hand out. No, it's my property, he cried, clutching the device. You can't take it. That's theft. This is my house, I said, stepping forward. We do not break heirlooms to make fake TikToks. Give me the phone. Make me, he sneered, Vanessa's sneer on his boyish face. I didn't grab him. I turned to the Wi-Fi router, pulled the power cord. Lights flickered, modem died, TV froze. You have no data plan, I said calmly. It's Wi-Fi only to save money. That phone is just a paperweight. Panic flared in Jake's eyes. He needed to upload to Vanessa, but now he was cut off. Turn it back on, he shouted. Hand over the phone. I'll consider restoring internet privileges for Sammy and Mia. Keep it. We live in the 19th century for 10 days. No TV. No tablets. We'll churn butter and read the Bible. Jake, give it to her. Mia pleaded. Don't be a narc, Mia. Jake yelled. Jake, I said, voice dropping to a register used to intimidate in court. You broke a vase, lied, tried to frame your grandmother. That's fraud and destruction of property. Plea deal. Phone for internet. 5 seconds. He looked at the dead router, the crying sister, the phone, and slammed it into my palm. I hate you, he whispered. Mom was right, you're a witch. Grandma witch, I corrected, slipping the phone into my pocket. Go to your room, grounded until dinner. He stomped upstairs, slamming the door. I turned to Mia and Sammy. It's okay, I said, plugging in the router. Internet is back. Watch your show. I picked up the vase pieces, didn't mourn. Small price for what I held in my pocket, the key to the operation. Night fell. I cooked dinner silently, supervised showers, put them to bed. At 11 p.m., I locked my study door, closed blackout curtains, desk lamp swinging low, illuminating the green blotter. I placed Jake's phone in the light. Hands trembling with anticipation, not fear, I typed 2-0-1-0. Phone unlocked. I went to the folder labeled Finance, hidden in a Games folder. 3 apps: Chase, Venmo, Crypto.com. Heart skipped. Crypto? Vanessa didn't know a Bitcoin from a crouton. Chase required Face ID, then passcode. 2010, incorrect. 1990, incorrect. Check Notes app, one titled Important. Gate code 5589, alarm 1234, debit 8822, Chase, VM 8822. Typed VM 8822. Comma, dashboard loaded. Total balance $423. Impossible. Robert's paycheck should cover thousands. Transactions revealed withdrawals and transfers, hemorrhaging the account, savings $0, helicode 85,000, available credit 500. Vanessa had converted assets to crypto, $112,000, ready to flee. Midnight, phone buzzed, Uncle Dom. Did the kid get the video? Plan to file emergency order tomorrow. Hours to act, screenshots taken, bank statements printed, trap set. Texted Robert. Emergency, not kids, pipes burst, house flooded. For hours, he's on his way. Bait laid. Tomorrow he would walk into the flood of truth. The hours between midnight and 4 in the morning are the longest hours in the world. They are the hours when the hospital calls with bad news, when the fever breaks or spikes, and when the truth sits in the corner staring at you. I did not sleep. I spent those hours turning my dining room table into a courtroom, moving the fruit bowl and placemats, wiping the wood until it gleamed, and laying out the evidence, a mosaic of betrayal. On the left, the bank statements highlighted in yellow. In the center, photos of the text messages blown up and printed. On the right, the crypto portfolio showing $112,000 in a digital wallet that Robert didn't know existed. I brewed coffee at 3:30, hands shaking not from caffeine but from the knowledge that I was about to break my son's heart. If I didn't do it, Vanessa would kill his spirit, credit, and future. For 15, his car engine knock announced his arrival, distinct as ever. I watched him pull in, abandoning the car at an angle, grab his toolbox, and run up the walkway. I opened the door before he could knock. He looked terrible, eyes red-rimmed, shirt untucked, sweating. "Mom!" he gasped, clutching the toolbox. "Where is the water? Is it the main line? Did you shut off the valve?" I stepped in front of him, hand on his chest, heaving. "There is no water, Robert," I said softly. He stopped, confusion clouding his panic. "What? You said the pipes burst. You said it was a flood." "It is a flood," I said, taking the toolbox from him, setting it on the floor with a loud clatter. "But it is not water, son. It is your life. Come sit down." He looked at the dry floor, quiet house, sleeping children upstairs. "Mom, I drove 4 hours, have to be back at work by 8. Vanessa is waiting," he said. "Vanessa is asleep on a yacht in Miami with Dominic Russo, not worried about you. She is waiting for the wire transfer of the last $5,000, I said. He froze, name hitting him like a physical blow. "Don't start this, Mom. He is her business partner, a consultant. He is gay," he said. I didn't argue. I walked to the dining room, turned on the overhead light, papers glowing under the chandelier. "Come here, Robert," I commanded. He followed, dragging his feet, face set in exhaustion and annoyance, standing at the head of the table. "What is this?" he asked, pointing to the bank statements. "Why do you have my bank records? That is illegal." "Look at the dates, just look," I said. He sighed, rubbing his eyes, reading the first paper, July 8th, withdrawal $800, Miami, for the conference. "Look at the next one, July 10th, Venmo, Dominic Russo, $1,500 consulting fee," I said. He moved to the Helix statement, balance $85,000, whispered, "Impossible, the bank made a mistake." I laid the text on top. He signed the papers without reading them. "We have the equity now." Robert stared, lips moving, reading over and over, silence heavy. "This is fake," he said, trembling. "You made this up. Hate her. Photoshop this. Why destroy my marriage?" I grabbed his shoulders, fingers digging into his shirt. "Because I love you. I am your mother. I will not watch you be slaughtered by a woman who calls your son a mistake." I pulled up the next photo, Jake's text thread. Vanessa calling Leo a mistake, children brats. Photo of Vanessa kissing another man on a boat, timestamp 2 days ago. He made a low, animal noise, collapsed into the chair. "No, she loves me. She said she loves me. Crypto is for the kids' college." I pushed the crypto statement toward him. Portfolio $112,000. Owner Vanessa Miller. Beneficiary Dominic Russo. He looked at the beneficiary, denial shattered, ugly crying, body shaking, clutching the tablecloth. She's leaving me, really leaving me, he choked out. She's taking the kids, I said gently, showing the last text. File emergency order tomorrow by noon, claim abuse. Abuse, he whispered. She'll say I abused them. No, she will say we abused them. You are not an alcoholic, not unstable. Debts make it believable, I said. He stood, chair scraping violently. I'm going to kill him, fly to Miami, he roared. Sit down, I cracked. Going there gives her exactly what she wants, a violent husband. You must be smart. Cold. He slid down the wall. What do I do? She took the money, not the children, not me, not the truth. Call the bank, freeze accounts, cancel cards, then call the lawyer. Dominic has prior fraud convictions. Vanessa is his mark. His eyes cleared, he took the phone. Okay, Mom. Let's get to work. 2 hours, accounts frozen, evidence sent, lawyer filing counter-emergency order. 7 o'clock. Sammy appeared. Robert held him. Tears streaming. Promise kept. Family reunited. Pancakes with chocolate chips. Storm coming. Vanessa already lost. The lawyer arrived at noon. Mr. Henderson was not a kind man. He was a shark in a cheap gray suit who had practiced divorce law in Savannah for 40 years. I liked him immediately. He did not offer empty platitudes or sad smiles. He sat at my dining room table and spread his files like a general planning an invasion. He looked at the bank statements, photos of the text messages, the criminal background check for Dominic Russo. Then he took off his glasses and smiled a smile with too many teeth. This is not a divorce, he said. This is a demolition. Robert sat across from him, showered and shaved, but eyes hollow from seeing a ghost. Mr. Henderson tapped the table with a pen. We have 2 options, son. Play nice and hope she feels guilty, or scorch the earth. Robert did not hesitate. Scorch it. I want full custody, the house, her name off everything. Mr. Henderson nodded. Good answer. We will file an emergency ex parte order for custody based on flight risk and financial dissipation. Freeze the assets. Flag her passport. When she steps foot on that porch, a process server will be waiting behind the bushes like a jungle cat. The atmosphere changed. The house was no longer a waiting room. It was a bunker. We were fortifying positions. I took the children to the backyard to plant tomatoes, busy work to keep their minds still. Jake dug aggressively, angry and embarrassed at being tricked. I let him dig. Sometimes the earth is the only thing that can handle a boy's rage. Mia placed seeds carefully, like fragile secrets. Sammy just wanted to play with the hose. At 2 o'clock, Robert's phone rang on the porch railing, ringtone a cheerful pop song Vanessa assigned years ago, grotesque in the heavy afternoon heat. Robert froze, looking at it like a bomb. Answer it, I said, on speaker. Do not apologize. Do not explain. Just listen. Robert picked up. Took a deep breath rattling in his chest. Hello, he said. Robert. Vanessa shrieked, so loud the bird stopped singing. What the hell is going on? I am at the Gucci store in Miami and my card was declined. Declined, Robert. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Fix it. Call the bank now. Robert looked at me, nodded, then at the children watching with wide eyes. No, he said. Silence on the line. Excuse me, she whispered. No, Robert repeated, stronger now. I am not calling the bank. Accounts are frozen, all of them, credit cards, checking, even the helic you drained. It is over. Vanessa laughed, high and hysterical. Is this your mother? Put her on the phone. I'll sue her for harassment. My mother has nothing to do with this, Robert said. This is about you stealing $100,000 and planning to run away with a con man. Silence heavy and cold. How do you know that? She hissed. I know everything, Robert said. Crypto, yacht, plan to frame me for abuse. Texts, photos, everything. You have nothing, she screamed. You are a weak, pathetic man. Unfreeze the accounts or I will never let you see the children. Take them to Italy, disappear. You will die alone in that sad little house. The children flinched. Jake dropped his shovel. Robert saw the fear in their eyes, and something snapped. Not a break, a welding. You are not taking anyone, he said, low and dangerous. Not going to Italy. You are coming back to Savannah to face a judge. Try to run, FBI will be waiting. Fraud charges filed an hour ago. Dominic is a person of interest. Fraud? She wavered. You wouldn't. I am your wife. You were my wife, Robert said. Now you are just a defendant. Goodbye, Vanessa. He hung up, didn't wait for screams, set the phone down, hand shaking but smiling, sad but real. Is she coming back? Sammy asked from the mud puddle. Yes, Robert said. But she will not hurt us anymore. Mr. Henderson called. Emergency order granted. Temporary sole custody. Restraining order preventing her removal of the children from the state. Locks changed, windows secured, camera installed, Victorian home turned fortress. That night, Robert and I sat on the porch, cool jasmine-scented breeze. She is coming tomorrow. Crazy when cornered, Robert said. Let her come. We are ready, I said. Are we? He asked. She fooled you for 10 years, I said. I do not love her. He chuckled, rasping. I know, Mom. You never did. Some people are like glass, sharp if held too tight, transparent in light, I said. Silence, crickets singing. Mom. Yes. Thank you for saving me. I was drowning and didn't know it. You are my son. I would burn the world down to save you. He finished his beer, went inside to check on the children. I locked the new deadbolt, checked the camera feed, porch empty and gray. Tomorrow. The sun rose on the final day of the war with deceptive beauty. Pink and orange sky, birds singing, humidity curling the edges of paper. Inside the house, the air was tight enough to snap. We were not a family eating breakfast. We were soldiers eating rations before the enemy crested the hill. Robert at the stove making pancakes, movement stiff, eyes on the street. The children were silent. Even Sammy, usually narrating life like a sportscaster, chewed silently. They knew. Children always sense when a house's barometer drops. Jake pushed his plate away, pancakes untouched. Is she going to jail? He asked, eyes on the table. Robert turned off the stove and sat beside him. I don't know, Jake. That depends on her. If she cooperates, maybe not. If she fights, actions have consequences. But it's my fault, Jake whispered, tears hot and fast. I took the pictures, sent the texts, told her about the bank. If she goes to jail, it's because I ratted her out. Robert grabbed his hands across the table, eyes firm. This is not your fault. You are 12. You did what your mother told you because you trusted her. That is what kids do. She broke that trust. She is the one who asked you to do things no child should ever do. You are the victim. Jake looked up, a single tear tracking acne. She said you were the bad guy. Said you'd leave us with nothing. I would never leave you, Robert said, voice cracking but steady. I worked 80 hours a week for this house, drove a falling apart car for your clothes. Maybe I wasn't there enough. That was my mistake. But I am here now. I am not going anywhere. Jake lunged forward, face buried in his father's chest, knocking over the orange juice. Sticky liquid pooled on the floor. Nobody moved. Robert held him, rocking gently. It's okay. We got you. We got you. Mia and Sammy watched with wide eyes, relieved, the monster of fear slain. I quietly wiped up the juice. Some messes are worth making. Waiting resumed. 10 o'clock came and went. 11. Heat shimmered off the pavement. I sat crocheting a blanket, eyes fixed on the street. Robert paced, checking locks 3 times, checking camera feed every 30 seconds. She's late, he muttered. Drives like a maniac. Should have been here by now. Maybe she isn't coming, Mia suggested hopefully. Maybe she went to Italy. She's coming, I said. Narcissists don't leave the stage until they have brought the curtain down on everyone's head. She needs the last word. At 11:45, a car turned onto the street. Not the black SUV, a white sedan. A man got out, polo shirt and khakis, carrying a large manila envelope. Who is that? Robert asked tense. Our welcoming committee, I said grimly. The process server Mr. Henderson hired, waiting to serve the restraining order the second she steps on the property. 5 minutes later, engine roar. Black SUV whipped around the corner, skidding slightly. Here we go, Robert said, turning to the children. Kids, go to the den, close the door, put on the TV, loud. Do not come out until I tell you. But Dad, Jake started. Now Jake, Robert barked. They obeyed instantly, scrambling into the back room. Door clicked shut. TV volume swelled. I walked to the door. Robert beside me, pale but hands steady. Through the window, Vanessa stepped out, hair frizzy in a messy bun. Dress wrinkled, eyes wild. She didn't knock, tried the handle, deadbolt held firm. She pounded and screamed, demanding the children. Dominic trailed behind, rumpled and exhausted. Robert blocked the doorway calmly. She tried to push past, he didn't budge. Dominic stepped forward tentatively. We just want the kids. Flight to catch. With whose money? Robert asked with disgust. My money you stole from retirement? Dominic flinched. Vanessa yelled at him, then at Robert. You think freezing account stops me? I am their mother. Kidnapping. A voice cut in from the lawn. Protective custody. Vanessa spun, process server approaching, manila envelope extended. You are served, he said. Restraining order, emergency custody order, summons for financial fraud. She lunged at Robert, nails aimed at his eyes. He held her wrists, she screamed, kicked, then sirens wailed. Police arrived, Vanessa froze, pivoted from attacker to victim. Robert stepped back, hands up. Officer Sergeant Miller had been alerted. Vanessa claimed abuse, but camera footage proved otherwise. Dominic detained for fraud. Vanessa screamed and fought, then handcuffs clicked. The children emerged. Jake handed over the burner phone and led them back inside. Vanessa was finally silent, stripped of leverage and control. The silence that followed the police sirens was heavier than the one that had started this whole mess 2 weeks ago. But it wasn't the heavy silence of a storm coming. It was the silence of a storm that had passed, leaving stripped branches and wet pavement in its wake. Robert and I stood on the porch, watching the 2 squad cars disappear around the corner. Vanessa was in the back of the first one, not looking back. Dominic was in the second, handcuffed, looking like a man realizing his suit would be traded for an orange jumpsuit. My friend Frank's son, the sergeant, stayed behind a moment. We'll need statements, he said. adjusting his belt. But not today. Take the night. The kids, they shouldn't see any more badges today. He tipped his cap to me. Good to see you, Evelyn. You haven't lost your touch. Justice is like riding a bicycle, Sergeant, I said. You never forget how to balance the scales. He drove away. The street was empty again. The crushed petunias were still there, brown and dead, testament to the hurricane's landfall. Robert exhaled, legs shaking, leaning against the porch column. She's gone, he whispered. She's actually gone. She is in custody, I corrected him. Gone is permanent. Custody is a process. But yes, for tonight, the threat is neutralized. How do I tell them? He asked, looking at the closed front door. How do I explain to my children that I let the police take their mother away? You didn't let them, I said, hand on his arm. You protected them. There is a difference. Tell them the truth. Not the ugly details, but the truth. Mom broke the rules, hurt people, and when you hurt people, there are timeouts. Sometimes very long ones. We went inside. The house was quiet. TV in the den was off. The kids sat on the rug in a circle, like a séance. Jake stared at the floor. Mia held Sammy's hand. 3 pairs of eyes locked on Robert. They were terrified, expecting the anger that usually followed Vanessa's outbursts. Robert knelt, respecting their space. Is she coming back? Jake asked, voice flat and cold. Not for a long time, Jake, Robert said softly. Mom has to answer some questions, did things with money she wasn't supposed to do, and tried to hurt me. She said you hit her, Sammy whispered. I didn't see you hit her. I didn't, Robert said firmly. I would never hit her. Or you. You know that, right? Sammy nodded. You're too nice. Mom says you're weak. Robert smiled, a sad broken thing. Maybe I was. But I'm not anymore. Jake looked up. I put the phone on the table, he said, confession in his voice. I gave it up. I saw, Robert said. That was brave, son. The bravest thing I've ever seen. Does she hate me now? No, I said, stepping in. She is angry, Jake, but that's about her, not you. She's angry because she got caught. You didn't do anything wrong. You stopped a lie. And stopping a lie is the most important job a man can have. That night, there was no celebration. No victory dinner. We ordered pizza, ate on the living room floor, watched a bright, loud animated movie, drowning the memory of screaming. Robert fell asleep on the couch halfway through, mouth open, exhausted down to his bones. I covered him with the Afghan I had been crocheting. I stayed up, chair by the window, keeping watch. Camera feed showed an empty porch. Lock solid. Accounts frozen. Children safe. I sipped my tea, still warm. Useless. I whispered to the empty room. She called me useless. I smiled into darkness. I had dismantled a complex fraud scheme, secured emergency custody, and neutralized a narcissist in 14 days. Not bad for a woman of my age. 6 months is not a long time in the grand scheme of history, but in the life of a family recovering from a drought, it is an entire season of rain. Thanksgiving arrived in November, bringing a chill in the air and a warmth in our hearts we hadn't felt in a decade. We held it at Robert's house. I insisted. I wanted to see if the ghosts were truly gone. When I walked in, carrying my famous pecan pie, the first thing I noticed was the noise. Not the screaming noise of the past, but the chaotic, messy noise of living. Buster, the golden retriever, greeted me with a bark and a tail that acted like a dangerous weapon against the coffee table. Sammy ran past me wearing a superhero cape, chasing Mia, who was laughing. And Robert was in the kitchen, wearing an apron that said Grill Sergeant. He was basting a turkey. He looked tired. Single parenthood is not for the faint of heart, but he looked solid. The grayness in his skin was gone. "Grandma!" Jake yelled from the living room. He was sitting on the floor playing a video game, but he paused when he saw me. He stood up and hugged me, a real hug, the kind where you squeeze back. "Happy Thanksgiving, Spy," I whispered. He laughed. "I'm retired, Grandma. I'm just a civilian now. Civilian life suits you." Dinner was a triumph. We sat at the dining room table, the same table where Vanessa used to criticize Robert's chewing, the same table where she photographed her food while ignoring the children. Now, it was covered in mismatching plates, paper napkins, and enough food to feed an army. We held hands to say grace. "I'm thankful for the dog," Sammy shouted before we could start. "I'm thankful for math class," Mia added shyly. "I'm thankful Mom isn't here," Jake said. The table went quiet. It was the truth, but a sharp one. Robert looked at his son. He didn't shush him. He didn't correct him. "I'm thankful for peace," Robert said. "And I'm thankful for Grandma, who taught us how to fight for it." We ate. We laughed. And for the first time, I didn't check my watch. I didn't dread the inevitable explosion. After dessert, while the kids played with the dog in the yard, Robert called me into his office. He closed the door, looking serious. "I got a letter today," he said. He pulled a cream-colored envelope from his desk drawer. The handwriting was unmistakable, looping, dramatic, taking up too much space. "Vanessa, from prison?" I asked. "Yeah." She sent it to the lawyer, but addressed it to me. He handed it to me. "Read it." I put on my glasses. "My dearest Robert, I forgive you. I know your mother poisoned you against me. I know you are weak and she manipulated you into stealing my children and my life. It is hard here. The food is terrible and the other women are jealous of my beauty. I am writing a book about my ordeal. When I get out, we will be famous. Tell the children Mommy loves them and that I will come for them soon. Send money to my commissary account. I need skin cream. Yours V." I handed the letter back. Pathetic. Delusional. Perfect. "She hasn't changed," I said. "No," Robert said. "She never will. Mr. Henderson called an hour ago. The plea deal fell through. She refused to admit guilt. She screamed at the judge that she was the victim. And the judge wasn't impressed. She got 8 years, Mom. 8 years for wire fraud, identity theft, and attempted kidnapping. And because it's federal, she has to serve 85% of the time. 8 years. Jake would be 20, Mia 17, Sammy 14. They would grow up without her poison. They would become people she couldn't recognize, and people she couldn't manipulate. "What are you going to do with the letter?" I asked. Robert looked at the paper, then at the fireplace where a small log burned. "I should keep it," he said. "For evidence." "You have enough evidence," I said. "You have a divorce decree, sole custody, a restraining order valid for a decade. You don't need evidence, Robert. You need closure." He nodded, walked to the fireplace, holding the letter by a corner. He watched the flames lick the cream-colored paper. Vanessa's looping handwriting curled and turned to black ash. He didn't look sad. He looked like a man taking out the trash. "Goodbye, Vanessa," he whispered. He dropped it. It flared bright and hot for a second, then it was gone. We walked back to the backyard. Sun was setting, casting golden light over the new life my son had built. Jake was throwing a tennis ball for Buster. Mia reading under the tree. Sammy digging in the dirt. I sat on the porch swing. Robert sat next to me. You know, he said, watching the children. She called you useless. That day she dropped them off. Said you were a useless old woman. I smiled, rocking the swing gently back and forth. I know, I said. That was her mistake. She looked at gray hair and saw weakness. She looked at silence and saw emptiness. She didn't know that old women are the most dangerous creatures on earth, Robert. Why? Because we have seen everything, I said. We have buried husbands, raised children, survived heartbreaks and wars and economic crashes. We are not afraid of a little girl in designer shoes who thinks the world owes her a living. We have patience. And we have memory. Robert put his arm around me. Well, remind me never to piss you off, Mom. I patted his hand. Just keep the coffee fresh, dear. And we'll be fine. I looked out at my grandchildren. They were safe. Loved. Free. The revenge wasn't the prison sentence. The prison sentence was justice. The revenge was this. Jake smiling. The mortgage being paid. The silence in my head replaced by the sound of my family laughing. Vanessa was sitting in a cell, rotting in her own bitterness, convinced she was the victim. And we were here. We were happy. We never thought about her at all. That is the ultimate revenge. To be happy without them. I took a deep breath of cool autumn air. It smelled of wood smoke and dried leaves. It smelled like victory. I am Evelyn Miller. I am 68 years old. A retired researcher, a widow, and a grandmother. And if you ever think about hurting my family, remember this story. Remember the useless old woman on the porch. Because I will be watching, and I always keep the receipts.